Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics
Welcome to one more edition of
Done
Politics
Right.
Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Folks, let me tell you, I want to start by saying how proud I am of our American citizenry, and particularly here in Kingwood, our people are out in action. We're going to cover that in a little bit, but beforehand, let me salute our wonderful people in the house thus far. In the house on Substack Live, we have Livy Hitchcock, who just joined. I didn't get it from the beginning. We also have LBW. She says, hello. I'm catching the afternoon show. Finally, you're finally catching. There you go, girl. There you go. All right, but guess who's first in the chat? The one and only Patrick Magner says meow from Houston, Texas. Second in the chat, Lee the Bearcat from, where again? Austin, Texas. We also have Joe says, hello, some improvement from long COVID. I'm so happy to hear that, Joe, from California, Los Angeles to be sure. And of course, we have in the house, para ver, AVQ. I'm away at the doctor's today, routine test. See ya tomorrow. You make sure and take care of yourself, AVQ. Mel Senor Michael Rudnin. Thank you for checking in anyhow. Melanie Killen from Barcelona, Spain. How you doing, beautiful? Great to have you here. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard, Paul Fleming. We also have Michael Rudnin said, oh, that I got that one already. Yvette Avery Herod, La Bonita, La Preciosa from Atlanta, Georgia. We have the one and only Lee Grant from where again? Lee Grant is from Montgomery County. And Carl Cox, we got Carl Cox in from Georgia. Can't remember the town in Georgia. Bruce Pollard says, good morning show. Thank you, my dear brother, Bruce Pollard. I kind of shortened what I did on the bond market, which I need to play because I don't think the mainstream media is doing enough of that. But thank you for that, Bruce Pollard. Jay Ray from Bruce is from Kingwood, Texas. We also have Jay Ray from Houston, Texas, my brother from another mother. And we also have in the house Eric Hayes. Eric Hayes is from Kingwood, Atascocita. On the chat as well, we've got Wendy. Welcome, Wendy. George Moxley, welcome aboard. All right, folks, before I get into the bond market and what we did on the bond market, I must give kudos to the Kingwood Indivisible Kingwood, led by Barbara Wills is in the house. She says, Upper Peninsula, Michigan. I got to remember that, Barb. Upper Michigan Peninsula. Upper Peninsula in Michigan. I try to remember all the first timers that come in, I may miss it, so you may have to throw it at me again one more time sometime in the future. Welcome aboard, Barbara Wills. But anyhow, I want to give big, humongous kudos to Cindy Hendrickson. Cindy, she called into the show this morning to advertise that she was having, along with her Indivisible Kingwood group, they were having a protest on Dan Crenshaw, because again, he's meeting with rich Republicans. This is a big area that comprises anywhere between 35 to 40% Democrats. And if you add independents, it's probably 35, 40 Democrats, is probably 20, 30 independents, and the rest Republicans. So it doesn't vote in a balanced manner, but it is balanced. The town is. So it's important that he listens to everybody. He doesn't, and they went out there to plead their case. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start the program by playing. She was kind enough to zoom into the show so that we could hear the thoughts of some of those that are out there that were picketing, protesting, and saying why they're out there. So check this out. Hello, Cindy Hedrickson, who is the leader of the Indivisible Kingwood. Cindy, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Where are you guys? I see you guys are out there in the Woodlands. What are you doing?
We are at the intersection of Grand Fairway and Cochrane's Crossing. Dan Crenshaw is having a paid-for fundraiser at the country club for the Woodlands Republican Women's Group. And we're out here protesting him because he will not speak to all of his constituents.
Well, I heard that he had apparently one town hall with invited guests, but
correct.
No real questions from real people. So were you guys able to see him yet at all, or you're just there waiting?
We are here waiting. We don't know if he's gone in yet, but one of his staffers came out to take our photographs, which is a little concerning, but whatever. Here we are.
Wait, they actually came, the staffer came and took the photograph of the group or of individuals?
Of the group.
Okay, well, I tell you what, Cindy, why don't you show me some of the signs that you guys went ahead and put together? Who's that we have there?
You want to be on camera? Can you see her?
Yes, I can see her. Who is that? Ask her what is she doing out there? What are you doing out there?
Hi, Egberto. This is Reagan. I am happy to be out here. Cindy talked about the staffer that was out here taking pictures of us, and we were saying we want a town hall. He said, we had a town hall out here a couple months ago. I said, no, you did not. You had a private town hall event. And when I called and asked about a town hall, you or somebody else in the office said I could join on Zoom, but we weren't allowed to ask any questions. And I think that's wrong. Just because I live in Porter, Texas, doesn't mean that I should be represented any less. I shouldn't have to pay $40 or $600 to get into these events. He represents me too, and I've got questions.
Well, even at that town hall, which I actually recorded, he didn't say much. And the one Social Security person there that asked the question, he actually insulted. So it's quite interesting. He insulted a Social Security person, and he just about made fun of some of the people that objected to some of the things that he's all about. Well, look, I'm glad to see that you guys are out there. Is there anybody else out there that is willing to say a word? Because it's great to see people in action. That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
That is what we're talking
see
about.
If anybody else wants to talk.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to find some other folks.
All right, let keep walking and let's talk. But look, let me tell you, I am glad for the work that you're doing with Indivisible to make sure that people are. I see guys sitting down on the side. That is great. I'm glad that you guys are out there doing what is necessary to make folks believe that we're not just going to stay here and take it.
No, we can't do that. Would you guys like to be interviewed? You okay with that?
I don't mind.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Now, who am I talking to now? How you doing?
I'm good. This is Melissa Perry.
Melissa, what are you doing giving Crenshaw a hard time, Melissa?
I am giving him a hard time because he's my representative and he will not talk to me, his voters.
Well, let me ask you, what do you want to ask Dan Crenshaw?
How can you, as a veteran, do this to our to our veterans? How can you, as an American, let this happen to us Americans? And how could you take my right to vote away because I'm a woman in America that happened to vote blue? It's ridiculous. The SAVAC is one of my big ones, but just everything. I don't even have questions for everything he's done so wrong. And the whole Republican GOP.
No, the SAVAC is a danger to not only women, but to many others. But for women who are married, for those who are listening to us right now, women that are married, the SAVAC makes it very difficult for them to register to vote. And there it goes. I never took his name, so I can and will vote blue. That is a good one, Melissa. That is a good one. That is a good one.
Thank you.
Well, look, let me tell you, you guys keep up the good work and thank you for being out there. That is the only way we maintain our democracy. Those who are willing to put their bodies on the line.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. You want one more?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Interviewed? That's good. Okay, hold on. I'll find you somebody willing to speak.
No problem. Not everybody.
No, not everyone is okay with that.
Yeah, and I can understand that.
Do you mind being interviewed?
Not at all.
Okay, here you go.
All right. Hey, how you doing, my friend? What's your name?
My name is Curry Haley.
Hey, Curry, how you doing? This is Egberto from Politics Done Right. Thank you guys, first of all, for being out there and doing what's necessary to maintain our democracy. I notice you have a Ukraine flag up. Talk to me about what's your deal?
Well, I just feel like that the United States has joined the side of the Russians. And I guess I'm 70 years old, and I was raised not to think that the Russians are our friends. I don't think anything has changed.
Well, look,
and so I support Ukraine, and I think the United States should be supporting Ukraine, and instead we're on the other side. And I'm mad as hell about it.
No, what you want to tell Crenshaw?
Oh, I want him to come out and talk to his constituents instead of hiding in town halls and talking to rich women, Republican women, like he is today.
Now,
he needs to stand up, and he needs to stand up for what he knows is right. Because I know he says he supports Ukraine, but then he just kowtows to Trump.
Now, you also know that you said you're 70 years old, which means you're at Social Security age. What do you think about that? Tell me what you want to tell them about messing with your Social Security, but not only messing about your Social Security, but about these closures that they're talking about with regional offices and local offices.
Well, I mean, I'm mad as hell about Social Security, of course, but I'm mad as hell about all the government shutdowns that they're doing, and they're taking everything down. I'm also a retired scientist, and I'm really mad about them getting rid of grants for science and trying to, put the foot on the neck of universities. So all that stuff makes me really mad. There isn't a single thing about what they're doing about taking apart the government that doesn't make me mad. Now,
let me tell you what's important, because the notion that you mentioned about being a scientist, well, you're a retired scientist now, but there are scientists that are younger now that instead of staying in America and making America great, what they're doing is making other countries great as they migrate to Canada, as they migrate to England, France, even Russia, because of what's happening here in America. So thank you for what you're doing, my friend.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Okay, I might have one more.
Okay, Cindy, that is great.
No. I've got it. I've got nose on this side. Okay.
Oh, you got nose on that. So well, tell them.
I've got nose. Yeah.
Tell them, even if they're not on camera, that America thanks them for what they're doing, because they're doing the work of democracy.
Sure. Okay, hold on. I got one for you.
Okay.
One more.
Hi. But the reason I'm out here, if you're curious, is because I think our congressman should be calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump, because Trump is currently disobeying a direct order from the Supreme Court in a 9-0 vote to return Garcia from El Salvador to the United States. That's why I'm out.
Well, thank you for being out here for immigration reason. Are you of retirement age, my friend?
Oh, yeah. I'm 65. I retired about 3 years ago.
Now, what's your thought on what they may be doing to Social Security, Medicare, and these other programs?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous. They're going to scrap them and try to replace them with a private fee-for-service sort of program. It's going to be ridiculous. So, yeah, I think seniors are definitely in the crosshairs right now.
Well, look here, let me just tell you, what's your name?
My name's William Bingman.
Let me tell you something, William. The fact that you guys are out there, none of these things are done deals yet. The fact that you guys are out there means you have still the possibility of stopping the worst that they can do. So thank you for being out there, guys.
Oh, sure. And it's just the beginning, because we're going to have to ramp things up. Protests aren't going to be enough. We're going to have national strikes. We're going to have people sitting in Congress people's office until they get arrested, that sort of thing. But this is a beginning.
You nailed it. Thank you very much. You have a good day, my friend.
Hi,
Yes.
you want to be interviewed?
Hi, to him.
Egberto Willies. He has the Politics Done Right show on KPFT. Just had a gentleman walk up across the street and join us, and he said he's willing to speak with you.
Let's talk.
Okay.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Pretty good. How's it going?
I'm doing great. What's your name, my friend?
Vince.
Vince, thank you for being here. Tell me, why did you join the group? I mean, you just saw them out there and joined them.
So I had heard a little bit about this online. I just wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it or not. And so I just decided, even though I was late, I decided to drive out here and just see where everybody was parking. So that's pretty much how I made it out.
Well, let me tell you something, because you just proved something that Bernie Sanders said recently, and that we've seen with all the large protests around the country. And that is, this is very organic. People hear about it. It is something that touches them, and they simply show up. That is the most important part of what we're doing. So thank you for being there, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for covering us.
You have a great day, my friend.
You too.
Cindy, look, you keep up doing the great work and keep building that momentum for what you're doing, because this is what it's all about, Cindy.
We're trying. We're trying.
You're doing a great job. So anyhow, give me a closer.
A closer. Well, it's getting really crowded out here. What kind of closer should I give you?
Well, I mean, let me first tell you, for somebody who came on to the radio this morning thinking that she just didn't kind of talk or whatever, you're doing a damn good job. Let me just tell you that.
I don't know. My closer would be that we need representation, and we are not going to be silent until we get that.
Cindy Hendrickson, thank you so kindly for what you're doing out there with the Indivisible Kingwood folks. How can they learn more about Indivisible Kingwood, and how can they probably form their own Indivisible group?
Well, the best way to do that is go to indivisible.org, and you can search for Kingwood, and our group will come up, and you can send me an email, and you can start your own group also if you are on that site. They'll walk you through how to do that.
Cindy Hendrickson, leader of the Kingwood Indivisible Group. Thank you so kindly for having been with us, Cindy.
Okay, thank you, Egberto.
All right, so they are doing what thousands of groups are doing around the country. Some of them small, some of them very large. In this case, I think there were between 25 and 30 people out there for this particular event. The great thing about it is that they showed up. They're in an elite area in the Woodlands in Texas. That's pretty much west of where we are here, but it's a part of the Crenshaw district. Crenshaw is my congressperson as well that has not been showing up to do the town halls with us. And so they decided to show up to him, which I think it's a great thing. Now, here is the thing, and I'm glad you said this, Barbara Wills, because this needs to be said. You said, I was at Hands Off in Ironwood, Michigan, but our local newspapers did not cover the protests. No mention anywhere. If it wasn't for Rachel Maddows, the number of large and other stations, small stations and other places on MSNBC and a few times on CNN, America would not realize the amount of people showing up. There were over 30-something thousand people that showed up on Sunday for Bernie Sanders. There were over 20,000 people that showed up in Utah for Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And we're not talking just Democrats here. We're talking people that are simply pissed off. Donald Trump is underwater with the immigration issue at this point. So what I'm trying to tell all of you that are listening to my voice right now is you matter. Your protest matter. Your disagreement with the evil that Donald Trump and his evil companions are doing matters. You protesting it matters. What the brother said on earlier on this thing where he said, we're also going to have to do what again? Boots on the ground, but also sit-ins, strikes, etc. To reclaim our democracy will require action, because when you have sycophants that continue to buy the Kool-Aid, it just means that it makes the work harder for us. Village MCP is in the house from Binghamton, New York. We also have in the house Alistair Waters from Conroe, Texas. Thank you for being here, Alistair, as well. Let me see if I missed anybody that came in. Mike Cisak from Missouri. Mike, what town in Missouri are you from? Anyway, we also have, did I miss anybody else? If I miss anybody in the chat, forgive me, but we are loaded up in Substack. Robert Smith, Jal, Chris P, Robin Van Meter, C. Peaker, Dale, Alden, Time for the Crones, Lori Gassman, Judy C, Susan Couch, Danny, Jeffrey Beatty, Anonymous, Ron McKenzie, Anita Rehill, Heart Feather, Wendy. Thank you guys for being here. Remember, share, and share. In the case of Substack, restack, like, restack. In the case of Facebook Live, like. Thumbs up, and share. In the case of Facebook, like, and share. Anyway, folks, that's the way we build up our momentum. All right. Let's see before I go. Bree says, if they think the protesters are being paid, why don't they go there, get paid, and expose it? You know, it's funny because I know Cindy. When she started this new Indivisible group, she called me up for the first meeting, and I attended the first meeting, and I attended sort of to lend a hand of support to her as she was building this new group. And she just took it and she ran with this group. She wanted to form it, she formed it, and she got it done. Anybody that's listening to my voice, I don't care if you're in Timbuktu, Texas, or Timbuk 3, Utah, or Timbuk 4, Montana. You can go up to that Indivisible website, get some directions, and you know what? Go ahead and form your group to protest the evil that's being done in this country right now. That is action, and the actions are paying off. Donald Trump's poll numbers are tanking, not just his personal poll numbers, not just his economic poll numbers, but also his poll numbers for immigration, which used to be sky high. And people are seeing the evil within. People are seeing the inhumanity. People are seeing that this guy has no desire for peace. What this guy is trying to do is deport everybody to have his white supremacist sweat dreams. That's what this is all about. You watch his proteges and you see exactly what they're looking for. We are a great nation. We are a salsa. Somos una salsa que si lo mezclamos perfectamente, tenemos una comunidad, tenemos un país que vale. So don't let them change that, folks. Don't let them change that at all. Anyway, now I want to talk a little bit about bonds. And this is an important topic. This video here, I want you guys to share. I'm going to put the actual standalone video in the chat. Please share this video. People need to learn about the bond market and how it really affects us. I try to put it as lay as I could. Bruce, I hope you found it lay enough. You can tell me off channel, but here we go. I went ahead and did some research last night about who owns United States bonds. So I'm going to start with bonds today because nobody talks about it. You know, we just kind of hear it and we don't know what it was. Donald Trump freaked out. He didn't quite tell you that he freaked out, but when he put the pause on, the reason he put the pause on wasn't because of a crashing stock market, was because of a crashing bond market. And not only a crashing bond market, but when that happens at the same time with the stock market, it really means big trouble because whenever the stock market falls, people try to find a place to put their money. All right. And everybody tries. And the place that they put their money is what they consider a safe investment. And the United States of America is considered that safe investment. And what is the way to do that? By buying United States bonds. Well, as it turns out, right now, people don't have faith in the United States bonds for several reasons. And we ought to be careful because I went ahead and made this list of all the countries that are holding massive amounts of United States bonds. And I want to show you something here real quick. Japan owns $1.079 trillion of United States bonds. 1-point-something trillion. In other words, I think we have like 30-something trillion dollars in debt. Japan, that one country, owns 1/36 of that debt. China is the second largest bondholder of the United States. They own $760 billion. United Kingdom, Britain, UK, Welsh, all those people own $740 billion. Luxembourg, $409 billion. The Cayman Islands, how did they do this? But they own $404.5 billion. Of course, that's from all the crooked money that goes through the Cayman. And Belgium, 377, etc. Why am I telling you this? When people talk about how much power we have and the faith they have in us, because, well, you have faith in this country because we're not going anywhere. We have big military. We have big foremen. We have, we are good for a certain amount of debt that people believe we will service. And as long as the taxpayers are willing to pay all these people who own our debt a piece of the action, they're happy. So we are paying, I don't know, probably 3-point-something% interest. That's a sure thing for all these countries. A sure thing. They know that they can just hold a piece of paper, and every year the American taxpayer gives them almost $1 trillion in revenue just for holding a piece of American paper. And for that, they charge about 3-point-something%. Now, Donald, that's been working fine, but we do need to get our fiscal house in order. But before I continue this line of thinking, because I have some listeners right now that understand that money is a figment of one's imagination, in effect, because again, it's not based on anything, just based on the faith people have in your country. We could have an alternate economic system that doesn't work this way, where money is actually something. I'll explain that in a little bit later. But for those who are going to call and scream at me, or that's going to scream at me in the chat, rest assured, I understand the other concepts of money, the other methodologies we could have. I also understand, as Stephanie Kelton, the great economist, points out, the slack that we normally have in the economy that says how much we can how much we can spend over taxes, etc. I get that. But this conversation is restricted to the current economic model that we are in. And everybody out there, this isn't rocket science. The highest level of arithmetic, of math needed for what I'm talking about is arithmetic. The people who sell stocks, the people who sell bonds and all of this, they want you, the average American citizen, to think this is magic and complicated. It is not. It is basic arithmetic. All right. So now let's leave the stock market aside for now. The stock market is a casino where people gamble on values. In other words, I look at Tesla, and Tesla has lost several $1 billion in the last several days, weeks. But remember, nothing changed at Tesla. So why is it that if you're holding a piece of Tesla stock, did it change in value or anything? Nothing, absolutely nothing changed at Tesla. They're still building crappy cars. They're still not state of the art. None of that has changed in the last 5 years. So they're still a crappy company that has a lot of hype behind it. So we know the stock market is a casino. The bond market isn't. The bond market, on our current context, is real because it can have a material effect on your taxes and your services or your Social Security. And by the way, Social Security owns a lot of bonds as well. In other words, when we go into debt, in other words, as we overspend more than we collect in taxes, some of the folks who buy that bond is Social Security. You know, that 14% that, or actually it's a 12 point something percent that we pay in Social Security for every worker, that goes into buying United States bonds as well. In other words, we're borrowing from Social Security because we still have an overpayment into Social Security until all the baby boomers eventually leave. Then we'll have an underpayment. But anyhow, continuing. I think we're still at an overpayment stage in Social Security. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. I think we're still in overpayment mode in Social Security. Anyhow, so there are all these countries who owns a lot of our debt, 30-something trillion, I believe it is right now. Now, we are playing hardball with these folks around the world by throwing tariffs on them. In reality, we're throwing tariffs on the American people. The American people are going to pay a higher price from all these products imported. When Trump says he's putting a tariffs on these countries, he's lying to you. He's putting a tariff on you. So your iPhone that is manufactured in China, for Apple to bring it into the country, they have to pay Trump, the United States government. A large percentage of that price of that phone goes into the Treasury as a tax, as a sales tax. And the person who pays it is you. Because when Apple pays that to the government, Apple then comes to you and increase the price of that iPhone to pay Uncle Sam and to ensure that its shareholders and the executives continue to get those substantive checks. So it's always, remember this, it is always you, the working class, who pays. It will always be you, the working class, who pays. It to determine how much is who you elect. Now, Donald Trump is causing a diminished amount of product from China and all these places by increasing the prices, right? If the prices of iPhones go up, if the prices of tomatoes, as he's causing tomatoes from Mexico to go up, you are going to buy less Mexican tomatoes. You are going to buy less iPhones. And that is going to mean less revenue. The countries who you buy these things from, they get less revenue. But you know who gets more revenue? Your government, the United States government gets more revenue. You pay more. The other country gets less, but the United States get more revenue because they are actually coercing you into paying more taxes. You ask yourself, what's the reason? Trump never holds anything in secret. He's like a kid who cannot hold a secret, right? He did this stuff because he wants to give a big tax cut, and he can only give that big tax cut through a process called reconciliation, meaning he cannot change the mechanism of all the laws that have passed that affect the amount of money that he collects. But he does have some powers in that, yes, he has the power, the emergency powers ceded to him by his Congress, Republican Congress, to be in an emergency modal where he then gets the rights to assign tariffs. This is an old man that believes in the past. In the past, when America got all its income not from income taxes, but from tariffs. In other words, America only used to collect taxes from the working class. Well, I mean, the rich people buy stuff too, so they pay a little bit, but most of the taxes used to be collected from the working class. What it did is impoverish the working class because a sales tax is called a regressive tax, a tax that everybody pays at the point that they buy something. There's no breaks. What we have now in America is, well, it gets worse every year, but it's a progressive tax system, which means as you make more money, you pay a higher rate in taxes, which is fair. When you make more money, again, you take more resources. Not only do you take more resources, but you also, it's an aberration in capitalism that allows many who don't work. It allows many who produce nothing to have the higher salaries and income in this country. That's just a capitalism aberration that by design, the guys who designed it made sure to design it for the rich. It is a mechanism that rewards slavery and these other types of social existences. This is not up for debate. We've seen it throughout our history, and we're seeing it now. Now, all these countries, one of the biggest fears, if you notice, Donald Trump fears BRICS, the alliance between Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Their economic prowess. Those actually, it's about 13 countries now that have joined the BRICS or a bit more. The economic prowess of those countries exceeds those of the G7, the Western countries. Their economic prowess is larger. I think, according to Richard Wolff, it's about between 5 and 7% larger. And so Donald Trump and all these guys are playing a game, hoping that these countries together don't react. Because if it becomes all what does MAD stand for? Mass destruction, mutual assured destruction. The ones that lose the most will be the G7 because their population is that much smaller, the G7, than BRICS population. Remember, BRICS has India, which is over 1 billion people. It also has China, over 1 billion people. And I think some of the other large countries are involved as well. What I'm saying is we are playing with fire. We're playing with what the piece that I was going to play yesterday that I asked you to look, go offline and look at it where I had it in the newsletter. Ray Dalio points out that we are heading not to a recession, but to a depression. And he didn't quite use the word depression, but he knows what he's talking about because let's postulate here. The bond market has been crashing, it has caused interest rates to go up by over a half point, I believe. Interest rates that we would be borrowing at. So we have a huge increase in our budget deficit just from just from the lack of faith in our bonds. That interest rate has gone up, right? Now, if China, who owns $760 billion worth of our bonds, starts to unload some of them, and believe me, if China starts to unload some of those bonds, Japan is going to have to, who is a major holder of those bonds, will have to unload some as well. Because they don't want to stay holding money that's worthless, or not worthless, but it's worth a whole of a lot less. They don't want to do that. So it will start to unravel if Donald Trump continues on this path that says we are going to make sure you all make less money from exporting to the United States. They can come back and say, you want to do that? We are going to charge a premium to you to borrow money from us. And since you want to give your rich taxpayers, or rather not rich taxpayers, your rich people a huge tax cuts on us, that is exactly what we will do to you. And we can stop that tax cut from occurring today by simply making sure the part of your budget, which is over $600 billion a year, I think it's over $600 billion, don't quote me on that one, we can make sure that that amount increases by a huge percentage, and you now cannot give tax cuts. In fact, you may have to raise taxes. Look, folks, this is serious stuff that nobody is out there talking about in detail. We are on the edge. We are on the edge of catastrophe caused by our tax cuts, caused by our intransigence with the rest of the world, caused by why we think this 4% of the population that we represent is somehow so much more exceptional than anywhere else. We have a vice president that called China's peasants. He says we are borrowing from peasants. We have learned how to disregard those who work and reward those who play. Stockbrokers play. Money managers play. We are the ones who work. The farmers, the teachers, the lawyers, the doctors. Those are the ones who perform. Those are the ones who do something for society. As we have made those people seem as ridiculously as if not needed, when the ones that are not needed are the ones who make the most, the ones we want to give even more tax cuts to. Folks, we have to start telling ourselves the truth and starting to learn how this current economic system actually works. So the solution to this, again, first of all, is to get rid of these wild tariffs. And tariffs have a place, just not the way Donald Trump is doing. There's a reason to have tariffs in certain areas to rebuild what the fraudulent private sector corporations have failed in. We can actually promote with tariffs, a temporary tariffs, a rebuilding of certain industries that we find from a security standpoint necessary. But all other tariffs should pretty much go way down to where they were before or less. And secondly, we must get rid of any tax cuts for wealthy people. And there is a tax paradigm put out by the patriotic millionaires that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely so, folks. Now, let me just say, I forgot to mention to Bridge, earlier you had mentioned about us doing more coverage on when we have protests, etc. You are so right. If you listen to what our friend from the Peninsula Mintz said, a lot of these protests are going on and nobody's covering it. Not even the local newspapers are covering it. So my pledge is wherever I can to cover those. And I'm wanting to ask all independents out there, it is our job to do what the mainstream media is scared of doing, because they're scared that Donald Trump is somehow going to sue them, take away their license, all that kind of stuff. We have to go against that. So, Bridge, we're doing the job. We're making sure that it gets out there. Now, I want to talk to
some of the conversation that I see in the chat. And by the way, E2247, I don't think I saluted you. Welcome aboard, E2247. You know, I love you, brother, but every now and then, you know, you post, I forget to put it. I'm so used to seeing you in there. Sometimes I forget to call you out, but love you, brother. Let me just say this to the conversation in the chat. I don't want I love all of you guys in the chat, but let me just say this. There are some people who critical thinking is not a part of their makeup. Please don't waste your time. I mean, if they say something that makes you want to say something for everybody to just know for a fact that you know what they're saying is nonsensical, that's fine. But do not, and I'm preaching this to GMCPs and the others, do not allow them with the non-critical sycophantic behaviors to mess with your day or cause you to write in exasperation. It's not worth it. Just give them some love. They say something stupid, I love you. Maybe at some point you will get better. Remember, we don't hate a sick person. We give empathy and we try our best, but we don't go through the rabbit hole. Okay? And that's why you see me ignore the sycophants altogether. Love them still, but I ignore the program that comes out of them. Let's remember that. It's so important, not only for the discourse, but for your sanity. All right, folks. Look, the telephone number is 281-823-7747. Again, the number is 281-823-7747. I can take calls for about 11 minutes because I don't have any more videos. And the next subject that I have posted in the newsletter, which is pretty much says, let me put that on the screen. The next subject is AOC and Sanders draw 72% of draw crowds. 72% of Democrats want the party to abandon the centrist approach to Trump. And I agree with that. The centrist approach to Trump is not an approach. There's no centrist approach to Trump. Trump is an evil character doing evil things. That's not debatable. Let's get that straight. That is not debatable. Now, what many Democrats have been doing is simply sitting back, thinking that things will blow over. Well, the base of the Democratic Party and the base of independents have rightfully decided that they will take it no more. And that's why thousands of people, and let me tell you what hurts me. When the Tea Party had a fraction, and listen to me here, folks, when the Tea Party had a fraction, hi, Brother Brackens, hold a second, my dear Brother Brackens, I just want to finish this thought. When the Tea Party
go ahead.
Had a fraction of what we have in mass around the country, every single, from Fox News to CBS to ABC to MSNBC, and all of them were covering them. Let me tell you what happened in 2011. In 2011, we had a mass talk out on the mall during a snowstorm in Washington, D.C. with the coffee party. More people, we were bringing out 5,000. I think only 1,000 came because of the snowstorm. But it was mass people out there on this section of the mall. We had zero coverage. The Tea Party, a couple of days before, came out with about 40 or 50 people. They gave short shots. And on TV, it looked like a lot of people. But we were there in Washington, D.C. on the mall to see what was really happening. It's a shame. My dear Brother Brackens, talk to me, Ray. Ray?
Oh, I'm here. Yeah. So, I wanted to make sure I heard that thought through. But basically, you're right. I mean, the media does a piss poor job, if I can be honest about it, about covering progressive actions as such. And it's almost like they are scared, you know. But I actually called in because I want to speak to your point you made on the video about the tariffs, you know, or as Jack would call them, terror ifs. Because if you broke, it's a terror if you got to buy something. So I totally dig on that. And it's just sad that people really don't do their research. You know, it used to be a time when people actually judged the person by their character. And I don't think that Martin Luther King, if you even think that you follow Martin Luther King, would actually be somebody that would look after, because people obviously like Trump, not because of the content of his character, which is rotten, but because of his skin color. And last thing I'm going to say to that effect, when you talk about the taxes being a regressive tax, it is. And another thing, like for me, I'll just get into my personal life for a brief moment. I'm single and childless. That's the part I'll get into. But being single and childless around this time, I don't get the benefits of a dependent. I chose to be single and childless by choice because of the economic factors. But, you know, I could have went to the manosphere and said, you know, they only do things for women and families, so I want to go for the man. But I was smart enough to know that a woman could even put me in a better position to have a better life as a single childless man than this lunatic we have. And that's what I'm going to leave on, Egberto.
Well, thank you, my brother, Ray. I appreciate that thought most definitely. And you are absolutely right. And by the way, you are doing your part, sir. And, by the way, I went to the Latin Fest on Sunday, and I spoke to a few people about you and Tops because of you remember the Panamanian guy that we met at the Houston Peace and Justice Center? I spoke about both you guys.
Yeah, I know him.
Y'all keep up the good work. All right.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I actually see him at a lot of meetings. He stays active. You know, he's into self-defense and all of that stuff. He's got some talents that I feel like we're going to need down the line. So I definitely like to pick his brain.
Let's do that, bro. I hear you, man. I hear you. But we'll talk later. All right, Ray?
All right, brother. Keep the show rolling.
Thank you. All right, folks. I talk a lot about what we did with the coffee party. I want to show you. This was a culmination of this during the snowstorm that I was telling you about. In thinking about it, I just saw it. I said, you know what? Let me show the audience what we did back in 2011 when we were fighting. That was during the Obamacare debate and the Tea Party. This is what we covered this for ourselves. None of this was covered by the mainstream media. I just want to show you. This one is about a minute and a half. Let me just play this here. I think I can play it.
Freezing, we had hail, we had sleet, wind was blowing, umbrellas and
Oops, hold on a second. I got to start it over again. Para ver, I need to put it on the screen, and I hope I get it right.
Below freezing, we had hail, we had sleet, wind was blowing umbrellas inside out. People kept on coming. We stood out there in the rain. We froze our tails off.
I could not be more proud of the leaders of Coffee Party, more proud of the members of Coffee Party.
It was an incredible demonstration of not only our determination to fight for change, but believing in each other and our community, that this is something that has to last.
This is what the Coffee Party is about. It's about all of us working together and participating in our democracy, because that's what it's going to take. That's what democracy is. It's about participation.
I don't think I've fallen in love with so many people at once in my life. I went from believing in what we were doing to owning it in every cell of my body.
We eventually moved it inside. We packed the place. It was fantastic. Everybody shared their stories. Everybody shared their solutions and ideas.
We had a good time. We had a good amount of fellowship. We really came together as citizens, and this is going to be the start of something great.
I know that I saw some kind of tsunami of the heart. I saw all of us gelling together.
It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, Democrat, a far left winger, a far right winger, or an independent. You're welcome, and your voices are welcome to be heard.
We can't just sit back and wait for somebody else to fix it. It's up to us.
Let's go out there, change Congress, change America for the whole country, and not just 1%.
Anyway, that was a culmination of one of our biggest events in Washington, D.C. And those were the days, when we really realized how difficult it was going to be against a terrorist type system. The right wing of our country, and I'm not talking about the right wing sycophants or the right wing followers. I'm talking about the right wing leadership. I am not over dramatizing when I say they are terrorists, and they put the fear into people and change the behavior. Look, that is what terrorism does. when you cover right wings, when the media feels comfortable covering right-wing stuff, but they're fearful to cover progressive stuff or things that are good for the populace, that is what terrorism does. And that is what we have in America today from the right leadership. Like I said, we do a lot of work. We have been doing a whole lot of work on the progressive side. We have been doing a whole lot of work on the side of the working class for a long time. But for many reasons, because of neoliberal Democrats that are really a hindrance to progress, because of right-wing terrorism, because of these things, we have been unable to do it. But what I see today, even without media coverage, what I see today is what we want to see. Forget that the mainstream media is not covering you. We have independent means in which we can cover. And while we're still using some of the platforms that the plutocrats are running, that good old email. I send out 3 to 5 pieces of email every day. I know some people just have it blocked into some areas, etc. But I get a large reading percentage on my emails. I have a large database and a lot of people read it, more so than the average mailing list. I wish more people would become paying members, but I understand it's difficult for folks to make commitments many a times. But we have to do this. We have to keep connecting with people by mail, by the internet when we can, even when we're throttled in our network, Politics Done Right network, often is throttled. I have done experiments where I change the platform and see things grow, but we're throttled. That's okay. You can fix throttling by sharing and by making sure other people see it. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I am going to go ahead and the video that I said I wanted you guys to share on bonds, I want you to share this however you can, by email or however you can. What I'm going to do is I am going to put this in the chat with a description and ask you all to please be sure to share this. I'm going to put the description as well as the link. And please share this in every platform that you can. We need to learn what's happening with bonds and how it's going to become an issue. If we have the tax cuts, etc., we cannot have a $4 trillion tax cut, folks. We cannot have that. Likewise, we need to make sure they do not drop, that they tax the wealthy and close the gap. That is based on our current economic model. That is what we have to have. You can be a part of the solution. All right, folks, I got to get out of here. But before I get out of here, I need to ask you to please support the program. And the way to support the program is to become a paid subscriber to our newsletter. And becoming a paid subscriber to our newsletter is the easiest thing you can do. And that is simply going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All paid subscribers to our newsletter get to read all 5 of my books free of charge. And guess what? Every subsequent book that I write will also be on Substack for you to read. So I ask you so kindly, those of you who have the wherewithal, think about a cup of coffee. Support us, a cup of coffee. Just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That subsidizes most of what we do here, along with some YouTube subscriptions, etc. But that is the only way we make it. Let me tell you something that I'm going to go about a minute late because I want to show you something. There is an independent, purported to be an independent news media that is shutting its doors here in Houston. But when I saw what the reasons that they said they were shutting the doors, I actually got a bit upset, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm looking for the little tweet that I sent out because it is depressing what they claimed. I think here it is. This is what I wrote, and I'm going to read it because I'm very upset about this particular thing that is closing. Houston Landing is an independent media source here in Texas, or I thought so. I said, why? Houston Landing, a purported independent media source, is shutting down for financial reasons. The company has 43 employees and received $20 million in seed money in 2023. If the average journalist employee benefits were $100,000, that is under $10 million over its 2-year existence. I am sure they were collecting some donations as well. Media equipment is no longer cost prohibitive. What in the hell happened? Overpaid executives? What is sad is that a one-person independent media operation working 12 to 16 hours, 7 days a week. I struggle like hell to do my part in the progressive independent media space with no seed money, just donations from those who see the value. Again, one person in Politics Done Right, one person 12 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. We never had seed money. We exist from what you guys do and provide and support us by. KPFT Houston, our major community radio station, separate from Politics Done Right, operates a 100,000-watt transmitter, 24/7 programming, and supports a small staff. The seed money would give more than 10 years of operation, albeit with many volunteers at KPFT Houston. How do you get easy access to seed money and do this? How do you blow $20 million in under 3 years for an independent news media organization? Some of us believe in independent media not to get rich, but to inform for the better good while being able to simply pay our bills and survive, while others seem to play the corporate game in the wrong spaces. And then I apologize for the tweet. I said, sorry for the uncharacteristic rant. The tweet just came across my feed, and it is upsetting to think about what one can do with $20 million in our space. My God, my God, my God. So folks, when you support Politics Done Right, it's not seed money. We built all of this. My engineering technical space allowed me to build a lot of all of this stuff out of, again, the knowledge of engineering, etc. We don't take $20 million. We don't take $1 million. Not even KPFT takes $1 million in a year. What I'm saying, folks, is the following. Please support true, real independent media where we really value what we do. And you can support us by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and become a paid subscriber. Our subscription rates are peanuts, a coffee. Not the millions of dollars these big groups that want to claim independent media and just is a cash cow for a few. We really do the work. We really do the work. And you can see the work on our Substacks. You can see the work in our books. You can see the work in our videos. You can see the works in our Instagrams, in our shorts, in our articles in the newspapers. You see the work. We never got seed money. My seed money was my retirement, and I should say my blown retirement. And so I think that is what was so upsetting in seeing an independent group in Houston gets $20 million, 43 employees. We put out more data, this one-man operation, than Houston Landing. Anyway, sorry for the rant again. But anyway, please support the program, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. Love you all. My name is Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? What am I again? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.